Welcome back to Beyond the Boundary Live with Women's Crick Zone. A very, very happy new year to everyone watching. We hope this year brings us joy, prosperity, and of course, a lot of cricket. Joining me today is the head coach of the Thailand women's cricket team, Mr. Harshal Pathak. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you doing?
Thank you so much, Radha. Very well done. Doing really well. I hope all of you all have a wonderful new year. And as Radha said, lots of cricket to come forward. So really keen for this new year.
Yeah, absolutely. We're hoping everything goes on schedule and we see a lot of cricket coming up. We're very keen to sort of chat with you and understand your story and journey with the Thailand women's national team, starting off from the end of 2018 when you were sort of appointed as the coach. I wanted to understand what your approach was when you said that, okay, I've been appointed to this team. Was it like, I have one big goal and it's to make it to the World Cup? Or was it something else like, if I make this team the best it can be, then the results will follow on its own?
Well, first of all, when I got this assignment, I was pretty excited, and I thought it was very interesting because it was something out of the normal and out of the comfort zone, basically. Because as we all know, cricket like India or where we come from has a big cricketing tradition, and when you go back to Thailand, the cricketing tradition is a little different.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah. So it was I was very interested to see how the girls go. So when I joined in 2018 November, the first thing I did was I saw a tournament which they were having amongst themselves. Most of the national players were there and the upcoming players were there, divided into three teams. So basically I watched them in a tournament scenario because I strongly believe that the players are different, probably in a training scenario in nets, and they play differently when they are playing in a tournament. So the real stuff is the when they play in the match. So I was keen to see that, and to my expectation, I actually found that there were quite a lot of talented players, and they had the talent. Just the thing which I thought that they need to work on is the tactical aspect and the mental aspect. That was my first impression about the team.
Okay, that's interesting. So it's quite interesting to note that you first saw them in a match scenario and sort of understood what's the area that they can improve in. I wanted to sort of then highlight, you brought Thailand to the global spotlight within what, 13, 14 months. And how is it sort of settling in within the Thai setup and making a bond with the players and the rest of the staff?
Well, I've been very lucky to have a wonderful set of players and great support from the association. And, specifically to name, that's our cricket development manager, Shan Kadir, and our CEO, Mr. Kadir, who have always supported us. So that was a good start, I would say. And then with a beautiful setup at the TCG, we have a wonderful ground. And yeah, so the conditions which we have were pretty challenging over there at first, because one thing I surely did was get the players out of their comfort zone. And first it was kind of I would say a cultural shock in terms of cricket, that this coach is coming up and he's asking us to just smack the ball from ball one, looking to hit boundaries and sixers, and then if you cannot do that, and then you block the ball or look for singles and doubles. So, and also while in the fielding and in the bowling, I was trying to inculcate a very aggressive intent amongst them. And aggressive, I mean that not being saying something to the opposition, but being businesslike and making yourself felt on the field. You want to, just to give you an example, that when you come to bat, you're looking to hit boundaries, or your body language automatically becomes aggressive. Then while bowling, you're bowling in the right areas, and as fielders you are charging in for the ball and you want the ball. So when you combine all this, and when you put it up in a series of overs, that pressure builds. So that kind of aggression was expected from them. And I think I give full credit to the girls to actually take up the challenge. And I can say now that I really pushed them hard for what we wanted to achieve.
Right. I was going to ask you that, have they been able to sort of, you said it was a culture shock in terms of a totally different playing style, but do you think that they've settled in well with that and they've kind of adopted it as their own and they see how they can improve with that too?
Absolutely, Radha. Like I can vouch for it, because when we started off, there were a certain set of skills which were needed for that. and
Mhm.
actually we did not have a lot of time for the skills, so we had to work around with some tactical options to it to achieve what we wanted to do and play in an aggressive style. So once they practiced that, and along with that, whenever we had some lean time, we did practice the skill which was needed for that. And
Mhm.
now they believe in what they're doing, because they've got the results, they've seen it at the highest level, and they're more, and now they are very convinced about, if you put a certain work in a certain fashion, the results are bound to follow.
Right, and I just want to cut to the point where you did secure qualification. What was going through your mind as a coach when you realized that this team is on that plane to Australia for the World Cup?
I would put it into two parts, Radha. First
Mhm.
was the World Cup qualifier itself, which we played in Scotland, and then it was the World Cup. So, coming back to your first question, the primary question, that what was my goal, or it was obviously the qualification for the World Cup was the main goal.
Mhm.
But we had a lot of, short-term goals also, and we had projected certain things. I put up a program to the association, and we had projected a few things, what the requirements would be there, what the players would be required to do, what in terms of setup would we need, what kind of a cricketing program we would need, and how we'll go about executing that program. So
Right.
that was chalked out properly, and it went into phases. So just to quickly recap, we had the Smash T20 tournament before the Asia qualifiers,
Mhm.
followed up with a lot of high performance camps in Pune. Then Shan, a development manager, he organized a very important tour in Netherlands prior to the Scotland World Cup qualifier. That helped us to acclimatize. Also, it
Right.
helped us to know the opposition, and because we had prepared well before the Netherlands tournament, we could quickly adapt to a different game plan or follow certain plans. So that took care of the qualification. Although we couldn't win against Bangladesh in the finals, who were a very good team against us that day, but we secured a position and we got to know where we stand. And post that was the most important bit, because here I would like to give credit to a lot of people back in India. The BCCI helped us out in terms of organizing a wonderful quadrangular series in Patna. Prior to that, the PYC club in Pune, they helped us out with their facility, and the Cadence Cricket Academy boys, who have boys of the India A players, then India under 19, and some under 19 and 16 state cricketers from Maharashtra.
Mhm.
They pushed us hard, and I think because of that we have been able to lift up the standard. Then before going to the I just forgot to mention, before going to the qualifiers, we had a wonderful high performance camp and series in Pondicherry,
Okay.
where my wife is the head coach over there of the women's wing, and they gave us a very good preparatory tour in terms of the setup and the accommodation, and we were helped everywhere. Like, everybody was keen for us to do well. So I think all these things led us to the World Cup, and with the proper video analysis and a lot of video inputs, and we had plans in place, obviously. So that is how we went with the preparation. But
Mhm.
the tactical planning for the World Cup was a little different. That could be interesting later if I can mention it.
Yeah, so now that when you are debutants at a World Cup, it's easy to get overwhelmed being in a group with countries that have, won the World Cup in the past and have a dominant history. So what was something that you kept sort of reiterating to your team, throughout the entire World Cup event?
See, the biggest thing what we did once we qualified was, generally the young teams or the debutant teams have, even though they don't say it out, but there's a little bit of a apprehension or a little bit of a fear of big names and big teams. So
Mhm.
that was one challenge for me as a coach, to how to neutralize it. You cannot take it away. It'll be wrong to say that you just take it away. You have to neutralize it. It is going to be there, but it's how you as a player or as a whole team, how you handle it. So for doing that, I had to every time remind them and make them believe, which they did on their own later, about the high quality preparations we had done. Like, we had played against some seriously good men cricketers in terms of first class players and under 19. So we had to discuss, and we had to make ourselves remind that we have prepared at a much higher level than what is expected. So obviously the chances of doing well at the real stage are going to be really high. So it's just a belief. So because I always say this to my team, a belief is a practiced thought. You practice a thought, and you practice a thought again and again, and that becomes your
Mhm.
belief. So we had to practice that thought along with the preparations. And here came in our one of the most important aspects, which I strongly advocated it, was the meditation and yoga part, which helped us a lot in visualizing things and keeping our minds calm during pressure situations, which I got those hints in previous tournaments also. But the biggest proof that I got was in the debut. The first game is always a big game. Although we didn't win against West Indies,
Mhm.
that game also we did pretty well in the fielding aspect. We could have got 20-30 runs more, then it would have been interesting. But in the
Yeah.
Pakistan game, I think our batting unit showed that calmness and composure against a very high quality Pakistan attack.
Yeah, and I think it's very interesting that you mentioned meditation and keeping a cool head, because people don't realize, but the mental aspect of the game is very much within the whole scope of playing cricket. It's not just the physical skill or the ability; it's also the mental side of things. And I want you to just maybe elaborate a little more on your preparations on the tactical side and the strategy side of things while going into the World Cup.
That's a wonderful question. Actually, I would like to just mention that, how many times everybody, right, from coaches, from players, from even avid and keen spectators, always say that cricket is more of a mental game. So
Hmm.
I have this habit of, whenever new players come or new teams come, I always ask them that how much percentage would you give to the mental side of the game. Every time in any, I've been to Thailand, some other international players I've worked with, first class cricketers, under 14, 15, 16 cricketers of men's, and women's cricketers, of course. Everybody has rated the mental aspect almost more than 70% of the game. 70% is a mental side of the game, and then you can say it is a skill or the physical part and all. But then the next question to them is that, do you practice 70% uh, of your practice sessions regarding to the mental aspect of the game? And most of the times we don't. Even when I was a player, I never thought of it. Everybody, we do it automatically in certain drills, but we normally don't do it consciously. So that was one big thing which I incorporated in my program, along with the meditation part, which takes care of a calm mind. You have to have mental skills. So rather than mental toughness, I always love to, you know say the word mental skill, because you have to be alert at certain points, and then you have to relax at certain points. So you don't have unlimited powers of mental energy. You have limited
Hmm.
powers of energy, and that energy needs to be focused at the right time, so that it lasts longer. So it's, when you talk about T20 cricket, it's not only 120 balls of batting, it's 120 balls of fielding also. So you need to get used, your mind should be get your mind should get used to that application in a very natural way. So the combination of controlling your breathing and practicing it helps a lot. So I'll give you a very simple example. The way we practiced the mental skills was, is focusing on one ball at a time. So we had tasks of playing only about 24 balls, and the batters have to gauge how many balls they really watched it, or wherever they wanted to play. Those kind of little challenges. I wouldn't get into the details, but
Hmm.
generally speaking, we had a very interesting tactical aspect, rather, which I would like to share is, with the
Yeah.
bowlers, we always have this drill called the bowling challenge, in which
Hmm.
two batters are batting in the whole field, and only four fielders are allowed and nobody else. So the bowler has
Okay.
to set a field in such a way that the ball should go to the fielders where she's set. If it goes to the other side, the bowler has to run and get back the ball. So obviously we
Uh,
don't do it for a lot of overs, just probably 1 or 2 overs. But it's a
hmm.
great way for them. It's a fun way, and plus they understand where they want to bowl according to their field, and that helped a lot, because it's real time mental practice. So those kind of things. And tactically, we used to discuss a lot with the players. Why would you set a field to a certain batter? What would be your, if you're a batter, if you're looking to attack a bowler, where would you like to attack? By seeing the pattern of what kind of bowling, what is the field placing, and what are your strengths. because generally it's just said, okay, as a batter you want to attack a bowler and he's going to bowl me over there, but is that your strength to attack? So taking an account everything, you try and find the best possible answer and you practice that answer. So we never practice technique for the sake of technique. We first practice the areas which we want to hit, what kind of technique will be required or what kind of skill will be required, and then we grind on that. Then it becomes much more easier, because you're dealing not with little kids, not with under 16, under 14 kids. You're dealing with international cricketers who have ability. That is why they have performed at that level. So you have to be very flexible about, some player might need a technical input and might need some technical training regarding that, or put in some more hours. So you have to be flexible. So that was the way we went ahead with it.
Yeah, I think from what I've gathered, it's interesting to note that you can go to the gym and train your muscles, or you can go on the field and train your skill and improve it. But you can also train your mind, and you can train the mental aspect of when you, like you said, apply the concentration, or when you relax, or when you have to sort of adapt to situations. So that was something new that sort of I've learned, and I think people watching have learned too. And I kind of wanted to know, tell us a little bit more of a relationship with the skipper, Sornaran, because ultimately that's sort of the bridge between communication between staff and players, and that's the channel. So how did that sort of relationship develop, and how is it going?
I think you and I think all of the viewers will agree that the captain is the most important person on the field, because the coaches and the support staff can do everything what they have to do off the field, but once the players step into the rope, it's them who take the calls and them who execute the plans, or change the plans according to the situation. So
Mhm.
Sornarin is a wonderful leader. She's one of the best captains I've worked with. She has a very astute mind. She's
Mhm.
extremely clever. She picks up things early. And at first, yes, because it was a different concept, when we had discussions regarding field placings and certain type of attack, line of attack, and why it has to be done. So sometimes you have to let them do, and then they understand that what you need to do. Sometimes I learned that, okay, my plan is not going to work for this bowler. Like, for example, if I have a Sulipon, who is a wonderful leg break bowler, she had a
Yeah.
different plan for bowling to a certain batter, because the style of bowling is different. So in tournaments and in practices, I also understood that a normal plan might not be suitable. So that kind of openness was there from both ends, as a captain from her, and myself from, as a coach. But at times,
Mhm.
yes, both are we both together are, and the team is looking for what is best for the team. So you have to kind of analyze the situation and do it, and I think she's been able to do that really well. And she is also very well connected with the girls, because they've been a strong unit, and they've been there together for many years. So there is that camaraderie and bonding, which helps the team environment for sure, I can tell you that.
And as a captain and as a coach, I'm sure there was a lot more media attention on both of you, especially coming into a World Cup, and there must be a lot of questions and a lot of things people wanted to know. So how did you both sort of take on that role of addressing the media very frequently?
Well, especially for the captain, it's important, because the captain has a role of the leader who speaks to the media, as you said. She has a role, or he has a role to you
Mhm.
know execute the plans. And the most important, that captain as a player himself or herself has a so it's quite a task for a captain. But the skill is, as I said before, staying in the present moment. Like right now, if you're a batter, a captain who's going to bat, you're not the captain, you're just a batter. So you have to fulfill
Yeah.
the role as a batsman, or as a batter. If the captain is bowling, then you're not the captain that time, you're just a bowler who needs to bowl the correct areas, or the ball which you want to bowl, and you might have the right field. Similarly,
Mhm.
me as a coach, when I'm coaching, I have my plans and all. And in the media, it's different thing. You are just communicating your ideas, and what are your thoughts about the tournament, or what do you think about your team. So you have to basically, I would say, switch on and switch off in different roles. That's the skill. So the same cricket analogy applies to the off field activities also. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and in throughout the World Cup and along with all the media days and also that Netflix documentary on the World Cup that's come out, we've seen Thailand to be this positive unit, almost like a family, as you've mentioned. The captain has a really good connect with all the girls and all the staff too. So in that Pakistan game, you had like a magnificent start, and unfortunately rain interrupted it. How did you sort of take away the positives from that game? Because it could have been a victory, right? It could have been something that could have really lifted the team, and unfortunately, it was cut short. So, what was the mood in the camp and the conversation in the camp?
As you rightly said, the atmosphere in the team. We have this motto in our team: um, aggressive on the field and positive off the field. So you just cannot be positive on the field and just be neutral, or I wouldn't say pessimistic, but generally speaking, you have to be positive off the field also, because being positive or aggressive is a habit. So if you keep that habit of positivity off the field, naturally it becomes easier to actually apply the aggressiveness and positiveness in on the field.
Right.
Specifically talking about the World Cup and the last league match against Pakistan, um, I'll be very honest here. The day, the morning which when we went to the ground at the Sydney Showground, I was talking
Mhm.
to my bowling consultant Rajesh, and I suddenly had this feeling of something, we are about to do something nice here, because we have done a lot of hard work, and there every team has its peaking point. And I was just thinking, because see, West Indies was a world champion. Obviously, England and South Africa are extremely strong teams, and Pakistan also is an experienced team. But every team has a peaking point in the tournament, and I was actually waiting for that peaking point. But the thing is, West Indies, we couldn't get through, across the line. But the English game and the South African game, we started off well with the bowling, but we stuttered in the batting and a little bit of in the fielding. So I could sense that we are going to do something nice. And because Sydney Showground also suited us, with the pitch and all, a little bit helpful for us as the Thailand team. So I was sure about we were going to do something nice. So we won the toss, and I don't remember whether they won or not, but anyway, we were going to bat first. So I think Pakistan won, and they
And
they
they chose
bowled.
to bowl, and you
Yeah,
also
they bowled. But anyway, we were going to bat first. So I got this hint when we were doing some knocking, the pre-match routines when we do, the way everybody was striking the ball, and I saw the faces of the players. As a coach, you have this habit to look at the body language and how they are moving around, or how they it comes naturally to us by experience. You could see that they were keen to leave a mark. So we batted well. We posted a total of 150, and we that time itself we knew that we could win this match, because traditionally Thailand has been a very strong team. Tactically, these 2 years we had become stronger, and our fielding has been our one of the major strengths. So
Mhm.
taking into account, we knew that we could win this match. But as we all say, you can only control the controllables. So the weather was not a controllable, so we think we did the first half which we played, we won the first half, I would say that. So we are
Mhm.
satisfied with that. And I'm sure when we get the next opportunity to play a match, we'll carry that confidence, that feeling, because the feeling stays there, and it was the first World Cup, so I'm sure it will be in their memories. So I'm sure we will carry those feelings, and with the new preparations which we did post World Cup, that's going to help us for sure.
Yeah, and I think it is a sign of an experienced team to sort of, have two back-to-back losses and then come back so strong. So it was really pleasing to see that Thailand, who are debutants, have actually pulled that off and have carried everything back onto the field and put on that sort of first innings performance. But coming to sort of, post World Cup, pandemic hit, and everyone sort of been at home. You did mention in the podcast when you were over in September talking to us, and you mentioned that the silver lining was you could work on the mental aspect of things. Do you think so that the team has been able to make the most of the situation and they've been able to take away something from the mental aspect and the mental training?
Absolutely. First, I would like to mention the big takeaway I had from the World Cup.
Mhm.
In one of my ICC interviews, I had mentioned that a team or a coach or a player, after this kind the two defeats which we had against South Africa and England, you as a team can go down and lose interest, or lose your strength, mental edge over it. The another thing is, you can still feel that I belong here. I know that it had been tough, but I do belong here. I know that I'm going to do that. So the team and myself, we always thought that we could do well. That can do well factor was in our mind. So I think that was one thing which we took away from those two losses, but and we corrected it in the Pakistan game. And post World Cup also, we knew that we belong over here, and with more experience of playing against high quality teams like, the English team or the Pakistan team, the other big teams, we will certainly gain the experience and do better. Because see, the challenge for the World Cup is a pressure game for even the Indian team, the South African team, as well as the Thailand team. I mean to say, the experienced as well as but we had to face two challenges. One is we were playing first time against the West Indies. We were playing first time against. So as a
Mhm.
batter or a bowler, you are not used to that kind of bowling. You might have watched the videos and you might have seen them and visualized, but actually facing the ball is totally different. So I'm sure when we have more tours against these kind of hopefully we'll have tours against these kind of teams, or the India A team, we will be much more better prepared, because your mind knows now that this is the way I play against these bowlers, or this is the way I need to bowl against these are the kind of tactics which I have to do as a captain or as a coach also. So and after the pandemic, we prepared a lot on the mental aspect. We analyzed our games as a player, as a fielding unit, as a tactical unit, as a batting unit. Then we realized that we needed to work a lot on some of the skills, because if you have the skill, you have the confidence. So the skills had to be developed. So we developed certain skills which will be useful in all formats, because I strongly believe that a good I say this in men's cricket also, a good days player is can be a very good T20 player also, but not necessarily a T20 player can be a days player. So in the
Mhm.
same way, in women's cricket right now, I'm talking about the two major formats, that is a one day and T20. So T20 requires a lot of skill. People think it's very easy, it's just wham bang cricket. I don't agree with that. You have to have a great deal of skills. For example, you have to bowl a yorker at will, which is not easy. I think the fast bowlers will totally agree with me. For the
Yeah.
spinners, bowling a slow and low ball is extremely difficult, or bowling a variation when you have a few runs to defend takes a lot of skill to do that, and then you have the courage to do it. And similarly with the batters. So if you're well skilled, then you can play in the longer format also, which is a 50 over format, and the T20 format. So there is not a big difference in the approach. We spoke about being aggressive in the 50 overs also, but we said that you have a bigger opportunity for the batters to play more balls. So you keep the intent same, but you are going to get the good part about a 50 over is that someone like Natakan Chantam or Nadea Buchatham, who gets to bat only about 50, 30, 40 balls, well, now you have a chance to bat for 90 or 100 balls. So enjoy yourself, make sure you use the wicket for those many balls. So that's been our approach, and we are working towards it in terms of the technical aspect. The physical training is going to be very crucial for the upcoming World Cup qualifiers. That has been taken care of. Right now, even as I sit here in Pune,
Mhm.
the girls are working back in Bangkok and in their own provinces regarding the fitness. So that is going on track. So this is the basic stuff which we carried from the World Cup, and this is how we are preparing.
Right, and you mentioned not having played West Indies ever before. Now we see Nathakan Chantam had the opportunity to play in the T20 Challenge, where I mean, playing with players from all over the world and all sorts of countries. What sort of impact do you think that has had on her, as the exposure for one, and then also taking that skill and that knowledge back home, and telling the team about it, and sort of raising the standard of the team in general?
Well, first of all, how good she was in the field. I think she turned around the match with not only that dive, but I think
Mhm.
the catch. I think it was Jamima Rodriguez. That for me, that was a turning point of the match.
Yeah.
Because Jamima, a quality player, I
Hmm.
think if she was there, she would have taken the game. But I think she took a brilliant catch over there, and that catch turned the game, according to me. It was a great experience, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank BCCI for giving an opportunity for a Thai player, which is very important for teams like us to develop. And once she came from the IPL, obviously she was quarantined for 14 days, and then she joined the team. She shared her experience, and we had a team meeting about it, and what she felt was the prominent thing. What she said and she emphasized was that the confidence all the high quality players carry is because of obviously the skills they have, and they know their game really well. So it is very important to know yourself and know your game, where you're strong at, which aspect you need to improve. So that is one thing which she spoke to the team, that you should start knowing your own game and you should have your own method to get the runs. So that was very nice to hear for me as a coach, that the player themselves interacting amongst themselves and talking about what is needed to be done. So sometimes when it comes from the players, it's actually better that your contemporary can do it than even I can do it. And sharing the dressing room and the field with greats like Smriti Mandana and the other players, opponents like Harman and all the other good players, was a great experience. So I think now she has that feeling of belongingness to that level, and I think that is what we spoke. So once we get experience, we will improve. But to do that, we have to learn our skills well and apply them, and that will be done by having a calm mind on your shoulders.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating to hear that she took away so much from the three matches that she was able to play there, and we can sort of continue chatting. But we have a lot of questions coming in from the audience, so we're just gonna ask you a few. Yeah. Oh, here's the first one. Ananya is
Oh,
asking, how have you dealt with
oh,
the
hello,
different
Anand.
personalities within the side? For example, Nadakan Chantam appears to be more outgoing, while Nataya Buchatam seems to be more intense and serious. So, how have you changed or adapted your coaching style and method of communication to suit each player?
Well, that kind of a question can always come from a good cricketer, as Ananya is. Yeah, actually, you have to be dealing in different ways with different people, because as Natakan is somebody who needs a lot of information. She needs to know what is she going to deal with, what kind of the opposition will be there. So she prepares. Her preparation is different. So as a coach, I provide that kind of information to her, or some adjustments needed, then she discusses with me. For example, I'll give you a very a brief example, is that before going to the IPL, she was wondering what kind of pitches will we playing on. So in Thailand, you don't have direct transmission of the IPL. So we managed to see some IPL games when the men's were playing. So we
Right.
found out the grounds which they were playing, the wicket was going to be a little slow and low. So we accordingly we started practicing that way. So she's somebody who needs information, and the same is with Nataya. But Nataya is more of a quiet person, so you have to go and approach her, find her out. You have to pick her brain, what she's thinking about, or then just there are some other players where you don't need to say anything. You have to just mention that, okay, I think this should be done, and I think you would be able to do it, and they're happy about it. So it's all about adjusting. For example, we have Chanida Suturang, who I think is a world class all rounder. Although she's done only things in the associate level, but I, as a coach, I think she has great potential to contribute in the bigger games also with a bat also. So for her, it is always about challenging her. You have to challenge her, that, or sometimes, and with Sulipon, the leg spinner, you have to nudge her a little, that, I think this challenge will be too difficult for you. And then she like, okay, coach says this way, okay, I'll see what is to be done then. So you kind of have to first know them, and you know them as a person. I always believe you don't coach the player, you coach the person. So need to know the person, what ticks for him, what makes him give his best, those kind of things. So with Sornarin, it is difficult. You have to challenge her. She's known as Noi. I'm sure Anand knows it. At Noi, I think it is a very difficult task, and you have to, no, coach, we'll find out a way and we'll do. So that kind of little bit of nudges are important sometimes. So that is how you communicate.
Yeah, and you made an interesting dynamic with each player to bring out the best in them. So that was quite interesting to see.
That's
Let's
what I've
bring.
tried.
Okay. Tell us about Chanida's preparations during the off season.
Well, Chanida, as since the World Cup, she had a little niggle in her knee with the bowling. So our physio is working on it. It's not a serious one, but since now we are going to go into the longer format, we want to make sure that she's fully fit and she can bowl her whole quota. And there are going to be a lot of preparatory games before that, so we need her to be fit. So that is one aspect. But right now we are really working hard on her batting and getting her technical and skill aspects right, so that she's a performer. She's somebody who likes the challenge. But it just doesn't it's not like only you can do well in challenges with your mental toughness. You have to have skill to back it. So we want to get a combination so that she can perform in those big challenges for a consistent period of time. So we're working on the batting aspects. We worked on that. And with the bowling aspects, she's doing a basic drills. So basically, when a certain player is injured, whatever possible drills she can do or he can do, we keep on doing them and prepare. And obviously the mental aspect. So interestingly, just today she sent her a video of preparation, and then I had to comment on it, and I'm supposed to get back to her tomorrow regarding a solution with that.
Okay, that's interesting to note that you're also still maintaining like communication on a daily basis to sort of get their off-season training going. So Sudarshanan is asking, we saw Nantakan Chantam's superb fielding in the T20 challenge that wowed everyone. Yeah, of course it did. Tell us more about the fielding drills that the girls follow. That's a good question.
Yeah, absolutely, good question. Sudarshan, yeah, she was fantastic on the field. It's I would say we don't do any special drills or something. It's just the intent is totally different. Thailand has traditionally been a very good fielding side. They are an enthusiastic, and they love their fielding. I can tell you that they love to field and give their best on the field. That is the most important thing. You have to love fielding. Only then you can do such feats. That's what I think. But we mostly work on the smartness. There is a mental aspect of fielding also. I don't think so we'll have enough time to talk about it because it's a little different concept. But the mental aspect also, we work a lot on the fielding, and that has helped us. So obviously aggression is one part of it, but understanding when to be where without the captain telling you is one aspect. So that is something we discuss with specific fielders. First, we started off with having specific fielders in specific places because that was a need of the hour. But eventually 8-9 months around, after 8-9 months, as a coach, I would like to see any of my fielder fielding at any position. That is my goal. But it's mostly the mental aspect, and of course we keep on doing I call it the palm conditioning. So bruising the palms a little bit, those kind of stuff. And but it's great to work with them. No special drills or something. It's very specific. If I am at short extra cover, what kind of balls will I stop, or what catches will I get? It's very specific. It's very simple. No rocket science.
But inculcating that love of fielding is the key, I think, as
Yeah,
you've mentioned.
I'm blessed with them having it originally. So by default it is there. So that made my life a little easier as a coach.
Pooja is asking, do you think people's appreciation of the way Thailand played the game sometimes took away the supreme skills that were on display? Would you rather have them lauded for their game?
I'll just read the question again. So
I think it was maybe that the positivity and the sort of their happy side off the field was what people spoke about more than their skills on the field.
yeah, well, yeah, I think the cricketers looked at the cricket. The general people also looked at everything. But I think that is one aspect, because there was a very interesting um, press conference which we had. In that, we spoke about that we are there to compete over there. And I think post that uh, press conference and the last match, I think everybody came to know that we are a serious side, and we are there to compete and win games. So I think the Pakistan game changed a lot of the dynamics of the Thailand game.
Right.
That game, I think people started taking us seriously. And against a quality side, we should remember that Pakistan is a very good bowling attack. Because some facts, like Diana Beg was the highest wicket taker till that game, or I think post also, in the power play. So she's taken and she's bowled to some quality players from England, and so she did not get a wicket till 91 runs. Till the 12th over, she didn't get a wicket. They had a quality left arm spinner. They have a very good offie and a leggy. So so I would say that the people who were watching it keenly, they saw the cricket, and I think they appreciated it. But it's very nice to show what kind of culture we have. So we play our cricket hard, but with a smile on our face. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I think the player and the person side of it both were very well depicted at the World Cup. We have
Yeah.
one last question coming in for you. Kaushik is asking, we've seen several associate men's players making it big in the T20 leagues across the world. For example, Sandeep Lamichhane from Nepal. Do you think Natakan can make it to the WBBL next year and give Thailand cricket more exposure too?
Well, I'm very confident about that, and I think sometimes we do not know, but in the backgrounds, things are being done. Like, a lot of scouts are looking at a lot of games. There are a lot
Mhm.
of people doing their jobs and watching, and you never know that she could be picked for some WBBL game also. Obviously, she will have to be more consistent in the international games and the matches which are upcoming to prove herself. But I think everybody now knows that she has the potential, and that's going to help Thailand cricket absolutely in the long run, because when you see your own teammate doing that well, and you have seen how she prepares, you yourself as a teammate, you know that okay, I can also do this. So there is a possibility in the mind of the your other teammate also. So that is a big thing which has helped us, and I'm pretty sure that sooner than later she will be picked up in not only Natakan, but some other players also. They might be picked up for the WBBL.
That'll be exciting to see. I think we all are waiting to see that. And this chat has been very insightful. I think the two takeaways that I've taken away at least are that belief is a practice thought, and you coach the player and you coach the person and not the player really. And that's very interesting. If you'd like to just tell us maybe just to conclude your plans and the team's plans in 2021 and any other message for everyone listening.
Yeah, basically for the team, we are preparing for the 50-over World Cup qualifier, which hopefully will be happening in this year, probably somewhere around end of June, scheduled in Sri Lanka. So we are preparing for the longer format. As I said before, we are working on all three aspects. That's the physical aspect, the mental, and the skill aspect. We will be, as always. I've always believed that. You learn your cricket in the middle, so obviously a lot of match scenarios and that kind of practice is our focus. We also our association is really working hard to get some good opposition. We need to play against some big teams, and in that we have quite a few boards like BCCI helping us to play against the India A or those kind of teams. So they've been very kind to us. That's been one big factor. So we are just waiting for things to settle down in terms of the pandemic and the ease of travel, and the rules and regulations to relax a bit when we could play our cricket much more freely. But till then we are preparing in our own backyard, and I think that is going to help us a lot. I don't know whether I can give any big messages or something, but in terms of cricket, for the cricketers, I would say, I personally, for women cricketers, I would say that I personally don't differentiate between men and women's cricket. I've said this in most of my interviews, that I consider that as the player as a player with different how do I say, proficiency levels. So right now our team, I would say, is somewhere around like a under 16, under 17 level state side. So we want to be like a under 19 or a under 19 state side. So automatically when you start thinking that way, your game starts improving. That's what I have seen. But for all the cricketers watching this show and who are interested, is it's very important to enjoy the game. But by meaning, what I mean by enjoying the game is you enjoy the correct methods of what you want to achieve. So that includes your skill work, put in a lot of hard work on the mind also, and obviously you have to talk to your coaches and get prepared better, and always practice what is required in the match. There is no rocket science. Just think about all the scenarios you will face in the match and prepare accordingly. That's a very simple message, I would say.
No, perfect. I think, as you said, cricket is learnt in the middle, and match scenarios are the way to go ahead. This has been a great chat. Thank you so much for coming on. We've been in conversation with Mr. Harshal Pathak, who's the coach of the Thailand women's cricket team, on Beyond the Boundary Live with Women's Crick Zone. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you, Radha. Wish everybody a very happy